Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Interface. This week we're joined with Johannes Robier. How are you doing, Johannes? You okay?
Really great. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you on, Hans. And look, but I'm sure a lot of people know you, Hans, because you've been an influential figure in the space for a long time. You know, you're a WoW creator, human-centered strategist, business imagineer. You run the Accredited UX Professionals program as well. So yeah, there's a lot to kind of dig into this week.
Very
Um,
accomplished and some amazing titles as well. I have to say,
yeah.
impressive.
You always have to invent your own titles.
It's inspiring. I'm going to update my LinkedIn.
And actually, I think we should start with the titles, Hans, right? Because the two key ones I wanted to talk about first were WoW Creator and Business Imagineer. Can you tell us a bit about those two titles specifically? Like, where those come from and why do you kind of identify with those two?
That's a good question, and I hopefully have a good answer for that. Because I started in 2000 with the era of usability, jumped into big companies working for them, really started really early, be self-employed, founded my own agency. And then it always was about, at the end, about usability, to be more efficient, more effective with satisfaction. So make something really fast, better, whatever. So user experience, and I'm convinced in the most brains around the world, UX is about making it easy to use and really fast, efficient. But there was a point, I don't know when it was, where I realized humans are not for efficiency. And then I thought about, okay, when we create for experience, we all talk about experience, but we talk about this efficiency experience, not about being really slow, enjoying a moment, going to a theme park, whatever. So it's coming into a flow state, but also in business, also not only in entertainment, also in business. And to create such flow state also for business, it's a 100% different way to design moments, applications, software, services, and so on and so on. So it's a different way to design. And this is why, for me, it was important to say I'm a UX designer, of course, but I'm also a WoW creator or a magic engineer, because it's really different. There are other rules behind. You have to go to every project in a different way. And this is why I say I'm a WoW engineer, a WoW creator and imagineer, because I really love to have projects, or I really love to make everything slow. That people really enjoy a moment and they don't want to leave this moment. And it's not user experience being fast, to be the fastest at the web shop, buy really fast. That's not the way I really want. I really want to, hey, enjoying and sitting down and wow, that's really cool. And staying in the moment, like a game at the end.
Yeah. I like that one because yeah, you're right. It's about creating a lasting memory, right? That people come back
Right,
to with every experience that we create, right?
right.
It's not always easy to do, but I guess if that's the benchmark, if that's what you're kind of going for, it's
It's
gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be a decent experience either way, right?
it's not easy, but you can really design for it. You can engineer for it. It's not because 2 years ago I had a talk at the UXPA International Conference about WoW creating, and right now I'm writing the book which should be published in October about these WoW moments, how to create WoW moments. And there, some attendees asked me, "Hey, I had some agencies working for me doing this awesome. They're telling me always they create these extraordinary experiences. And they never told me about the psychology behind why they're doing it, how they do it. They said, maybe they don't know about the psychology behind. But this is really important, because at the end, you only can increase the possibility to create a wow moment or an extraordinary moment. At the end, it's only the people on the other side who have the feeling of it. You can't create it. You only can create the possibility that they have this moment.
How do you know like you're making a wow moment for a customer? You know, like do you go into every project thinking I'm going to make this wow, but then how do you know that you've been successful in achieving that?
Um, I, at the end, it's like the human-centered design process. I'm testing it. But at the end, not every moment, not every app, not every task a user is doing is a best fit for a wow moment. For example, you go to an airport and through the security check. So at the end, it's a little bit of a stressy situation for every human going through the security check. Creating a wow moment for the security check is not the right way, because people are not open for wow moments or extraordinary moments. After the security check, when they are maybe bored, they have to wait 4 hours for their flight. Then they are ready for extraordinary experiences, and they are open to take them. So in every project, you have to think about. I always say it's the fast and slow moment. Are people in the fast mode or in the slow mode? And when they are typically in the slow mode, you can think about creating wow or extraordinary experiences.
Sorry, I was just saying I love that. I love that analogy, and I'm just thinking out loud on the kind of apps that I use and also the apps that I'm working on, and I just like that description that you made in terms of when people are moving slow, then that's where you can inject those delightful moments or a bit extraordinary
Or
moments.
maybe a better example, if you're using a banking app, finance app, you don't want to have an experience when you transfer money from A to B. This is about efficiency. It has to be as easy as possible. You don't want to have an experience with transferring money. It's not your intention to have an experience there. So this is about being fast. But on the other side, when you maybe, I don't know, have time and you read a book, these novels are experiences. A handbook for a smartphone or a tablet is for efficiency. Different kind of designing. One's more storytelling, the other is more really being efficient. You have to think always about, is this an efficient moment or an experience moment? And then you can create in a different way.
Do you think, Hans, that over time, wow moments have changed? Because I'm just thinking about customer behavior, right? I think what used to maybe be a wow moment has turned into an expectation, right? Like, for example, animations used to be a wow moment, right? When people saw nice animations throughout the journey. Whereas now it's almost like expected, it's like if your app doesn't have that, it's like, well, you're way behind time, right? Do you feel that, yeah, wow moments are evolving, and how do you stay relevant with the wow moments? How do you keep coming up with the new wow moments and ideas?
So you said it in the right way. It's about expectations. And expectations are changing. There are also business psychology behind, if you know the Kano model. Every moment or every service which is great. If I give you one mint or a sweet, maybe the first time it's an experience for you, maybe. Second time, maybe also, but the third and fourth time it's no experience because it's common for you. So you always have to change anything when creating experiences. You have to always think about, okay, how can I change those moments in a different way? And what you said before, okay, in the 90s, it was this animation thing. It's always about tooling, new technology, something new is always an experience for us. But if a tool or a technology becomes common, it's no experience anymore. So there is to be new or something new is also something, is one dimension of enthusiasm. It goes much faster in our brain than other things if something is new, because hey, we have to wake up and look what's different. Or for example, appreciation is another dimension of enthusiasm. To appreciate something, it's really, really simple to say, hey, cool, what you have done. Thank you for that, or thank you for that. These are also ways to create experiences. It's not always about technology. It's about human beings. It's about connecting to each other. And this is what we have to think. And at the end, and this is what I'm writing right now, there are 5 dimensions of enthusiasm and 5 experience booster, which you can boost this experience to make it much more intense. Yeah. And if you know the psychology behind, it should be really not easy. You need at the end a lot of creativity to be really personalized and so on and so on. But if you have a framework or a canvas or whatever, how we call it, it's much easier, and the appropriability is much higher that you can create these experiences for the people on the other side, for your customers, for your user, and so on and so on.
Outside of, kind of animations and, just doing things um, a bit boldly, right? So like adding color and motion and all this stuff. Would you say the center of kind of wow moments? 'Cause I'm just trying to kind of absorb everything that you were saying. Would you say at the center is like personalization for
No,
customers? So
it's
like,
personalization is
or is it
only
something else?
at the end. It's really, really important, of course. As more personalized it is for you, is more important is it for you at the end. But think about a Google ad or Amazon ads, whatever. They are really personalized, but are these wow moments?
That's a good
So it's
point.
only one small puzzle piece of the whole thing, personalization.
No, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Because when I think about wow moments and when I've had like conversations kind of with people, it's always been, we need to make this hyper personalized, hyper relevant. That's how we're going to engage our customers. This is what's going to create a memorable or shareable experience. But I think that example that you used with Google Ads, like that's also hyper relevant, hyper personalized.
Yeah.
But do I want to share it and talk about it with Warren? Probably not.
Yeah.
I think that's a very interesting point.
So understand the whole human being. It's really important. And this is coming back to the beginning. This is what I also want to teach or to bring out into the world. 95% of all UX designers out there are talking about efficiency. But humans not made for efficiency for the last 1,000 years. We are made for experiences, for storytelling, for working together, learning from each other. And right now with AI, with robotic and so on, it's becoming faster and faster and faster. And I have the fear that at the end, we are always human, but not that human anymore as we should be. And also with designing things, we should go back to create more these humanized experiences. I would say humanized experiences.
Yeah, I like what you're saying there, Hans. So, I mean, I want to kind of unpack that a little bit more because, we spoke about efficiency and you're saying that, I mean, I guess the follow-up question I want to ask you is, do you feel then that the more we use AI, the less human our experiences are becoming? Is that kind of the road you're going down? Or are you saying that, yeah, good to get your take on that.
Good question. I don't know what happens with the AI and what are the possibilities in the future. When we know the statistics that right now are more than 50% of all data we have in the world are AI generated. when people say they create personas out of AI, it's okay for the overall 80%, it will work. But I would say the 20% important percent, where we really try to find out the needs of humans. And AI is not possible to do that because they don't do research. They don't speak to people. They don't feel it, what's important. So creating personas out of AI is for me a thing that makes no sense. I did a research project in February this year, and I really tried to say, hey, is my brain too old fashioned? Because I never wanted to use AI for, okay, please try to find our needs, create our needs and insights out of the interview. And I try to, okay, I ask ChatGPT, please make the research for me. Try to find our needs and whatever I needed for the research. And honestly speaking, it was really awesome. It was great for an overall communication to a customer. But for a product, the real insights which I found in the last 20% were much more impactful than what ChatGPT found out of all these interviews. Because at the end, we as a human can also read between the lines. AI only read the words at the end. And that's the difference. And this is
Some
why I say,
people,
okay, yeah, AI makes a little bit smoothie everything. It makes okay, it's all okayish, but you can't find these corners and where you say you can create really new products. You find a new way. It's not with AI.
I think this is very interesting because the world that we live in today, I I feel like very quickly teams and people are becoming heavily dependent on the output of AI, right?
Yeah.
And you made a very key point, which was it may be good for 80% of things, right? Of the research or whatever, but it's that 20% that is key. And I think that goes back to, if we circle back, I think that goes back to your wow moments. Now, some people and some organizations would say that 80% is good enough.
Right.
Like, what would you say to that?
That at the end, it's a good question because in Austria, photographers who make the picture or the pictures, I think right now 50-60% of them lost their job because you can do everything with AI, also AI pictures. But at the end, the best will survive. And this is not a question of quality. It's more a quality of the society. If the pictures of an AI or if the pictures of a smartphone from every influencer is enough for us, for the society. And yes, it's enough. We don't need the highest quality for everything. We don't need a photograph for everything because a smartphone picture is good enough for every one of us. And this is always the question. Also in business to business, when I talk to companies, when they say they are the best researchers and they create the best quality and they can make a data analysis on with 5-6 digits precisely, they can measure everything. But do a human or the people on the other side in the lab do they need it with 5 digits precision or is 2 enough? And they don't need to spend 2 years of research to make it better and better and better because 2 digits are enough. It's always the question. This is also user experience. How much do we really need? What is enough for us? What are our needs?
Yeah.
And that's always the question. Where and together with these needs, where is the value? Where's the value?
Yeah, it's a good question, Hans, because you're right. It's like, you and Jay are touching on great points there in the sense that is it enough? Is 80% enough? But I guess when you're getting to the end of how far you're pushing the boundaries on a product, like again, like we said, to create those wow moments though, will AI enable us to do those wow moments, right? Like, or will we need to become a lot more human centered? Will we actually have to not use AI to kind of create those wow moments?
I think at the end, it's also a question of a target group. Easy example. When I go to my mother, and she's right now 75, and I bring her a new AI widget, but I don't know. Let's say 20 years ago, I showed her a smartphone. For her, it is wow, because she didn't know it. But for 80%, 90% of the youth, it was really common. So for specific people, it will be easy to create extraordinary experiences when you know them, when you know a little bit which age they are, which if they're male, female, whatever. So it will be easy also for AI to create these experiences when you know a little bit out of them. But when you say you're a company, and you have to create these experiences for 1 million, 2 million people, for all your employees, then it's not that easy anymore. Then you really have to think about their needs, about all the psychology behind, that you create the right moment at the right time with the right content. And maybe we have, yeah, it
I
always,
think
it always depends.
no, I think it does depend, and I think what you're saying around like those wow moments and really understanding the customer needs or the user's needs. I feel like if AI can handle, say, 80%, right, then teams can maybe focus even more time on the 20%, right? Whereas before they had to do everything, right? Like if they had to focus a lot of their time on that 80%,
Yeah,
and also try and find time for the 20% to kind of be kind of exceptional. So even like design systems, like researchers that I speak to, they all say, we want to keep like 10 to 20% available for creativity, right? To be innovative. But
that,
that never happens because of the speed of the company and all of this
yeah.
kind of stuff. Whereas if you can get 80% covered, then maybe, we can spend 80% of our own time on the 20%. That makes
But
sense.
when we now differentiate this 80%, this 20%, I think 1 month ago, 3 weeks ago, I write an article on LinkedIn about what are UX designers doing in the future. And we're not designing apps, we're not designing software, we're not creating design systems, because this is what AI will do in the future. I'm convinced. What we have to do in the future is creating everything around the journeys, the wow moments, this 20%, which are about experiences and not about efficiency, because we know what efficiency is and the best way and fastest way with all the rules left and right. This is what AI will do in the future for us. We have to focus on these humanized experiences where people really want to feel something, experience something. This is what I think. It's not about 80% of wow moments are done by AI, that they are not so important, it's easy to do, and the other important 20% are doing we as human. I think 80% is about efficiency, this is or what AI is doing. We have to really focus on this creating of extraordinary experiences.
Yeah, I kind of like that future. I hope you're kind of right, Hans, because
I hope
that's
so
the
too.
best part, right? That's the part that we all love, right? And we want to do. But when we think about then the value of UX in the future, you know, do you feel like AI is going to strengthen or weaken the case for UX then? If we think about this future that you just spoke about.
Depending on what is UX in the future. As I said, right now, 95% of UX people are designing apps, software, and so on making it more efficient. And this is not our job anymore. When we think about everything else, if this is our job, then we will do 100% of that what we have to do. So it's great. So why I'm telling you that in 2002 or 3, one professor when I was at the university, he told me, you are studying right now information design, but there is no job out there for information designer. You always have to invent your own job. You have to know what you want to do, and you have to do that. You have to create your job, and this is what I think we as UX designers always have to do, because we go with technology. We have to change everything with the context we are living in, with the society. And I don't have any fear that we don't have any job in the future, because at the end there is becoming more data and more data and more data. And how can we, right now, I can't see everything what happens in the world, because so much happens, and every day, how many AI tools are jumping out of the nowhere. So there is something where we have to go back and say, okay, maybe it's much more localization in the future, not more globalization, again, more localization. We have to make it better for those people who don't see the big picture at the end. I don't know. But this is where we have to be really flexible also in the future and every day at the end, because we don't know what happens in 2 months, 3 months. We have to be flexible and say, okay, what's going on? Let's do what we need, what people need. This is our job. We have to look at human, we have to see their need, and we have to design for their need. This is what our job is. And if we don't have a smartphone as a screen anymore, then we have to design for Star Wars and whatever, any other technology. I don't know.
I think you've made a very strong case for our roles, and I would say you've defined UX extremely well. But do you think that companies today value UX in that way?
No.
And do you think they will continue? Well, do you think that value will continue to be maybe undervalued in the future with AI, or do you think that AI gives us an opportunity to better showcase ourselves?
It's a good question. It's 20 years ago, it was a really hard job to convince people to do usability. Right now, it's still a hard job for 80% of companies to do UX, because at the end it's always in the head or in the mind of people. It's always combined with you're making it easier, you have to create something where I'm the expert from a company. I find we are the experts. We know what they need. It's always the same. If there are new technologies coming, then we have to design for another technology where others are experts. And those experts always know what we as user need or they think. And I'm convinced also in the next 10 years, I have a little bit of experience, but also it will be also for me really hard to convince people to say, hey, UX makes sense, because at the end it's a human and not a technology guy who understands everything what you know. But those who develop everything, they think they know it, and that's the problem. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So
think I
it
know
will
what
be
you're
not
saying.
easier at the end.
Hmm. just to understand a bit more, Hans, like I think what you're saying is if we're kind of moving into this new world, like the new technologies and so on, um, are you saying that there is that element of the technological side and the developers and how these different teams connect together, right? Because I guess our role will change and the way we look at designing experiences will change, but I guess the technology and the teams that we work with will also change as well, right?
Yeah. And
Mm.
at the end, what I see where we have also a little bit the problem, the technology side has always 100, 200,000% more people in technology than in UX or in design. So the CTO is always more powerful than a chief design officer because he's the CTO. The CTO was grown up with technology. Normally they don't really understand what we really want to do. Not always, but mostly. And who has the money? Those with power. And at the end, when you want to make it right, you have to start before any project starts. So when we as UX people come into a project, it's too late. Because when we start a project, there's 90% a vision in mind, a concept in mind of these technology guys, whatever. And then to change their mind because we see that the usability is not great, it's really hard. At the end, we as UX people, in the best case, we are business developers. We go out, see or research what people need and came back with the ideas, with the MVPs, which projects should develop. This should be the best case, that we are not in the ideal in an ideal way. We are not part of any project team because in the future project teams they're only doing that what we are saying.
Mm.
But right now we are 100% in projects and not before.
Yeah. You know, Hans, I've been looking lately and I've been thinking that there has been a little bit of a change because I feel like the technology has got to a point now where others are able to do it, right? So obviously the no code, the vibe coding. I'm seeing now that teams are really starting to try and bring more of the technology up the chain. So like design, right? Some designers are able to design the experience, code it, put it in front of a customer, test it, validate it, and then we have that discussion with technology, right? I'm starting to see that slight shift, and I don't know how far that's going to go, but do you see that kind of, how do you see that world? Do you feel like that could also be something that changed a little bit in the future?
That happens and it makes development much more efficient because they are faster, much faster. And also my friends, they say, hey, what they have done with 2 or 3 people in the past, this is what he's doing right now in 3-4 hours alone. But the same happens with UX at the moment. Who is doing the design system? You can prompt and hey, please create an app for that and that. It happens the same. It's the same for UX at the moment, or what people think what UX is. At the end, an AI don't know the behavior of people outside. They only know what other technology, other apps, other similar tools is doing in the same way, in the same context. So the AI is creating something similar, like the AI knows. If you come with a really, really new case, an AI will do some bullshit at the end. Because they don't know how can I see or where can I find some comparison. And
Yeah.
that's at the end it's what we have in development. We also have the same in design or in the concept at the end.
Hmm.
But at the end,
Exactly.
who of us are really wants to design everything in Figma, wants to create a full prototype in Figma? No, I don't think that anyone wants it really. I don't like it. When I do a rough concept and say, hey, AI, now create a full prototype out of it, that would be awesome.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, and that's definitely what's kind of happening, right? And I feel like I'm looking forward to see how that evolves and how teams will evolve. You know, we might start to see teams changing a little bit, but let's see what happens. I mean, I still think companies are trying to adopt new ways of working and seeing what they can do. But we'll see. And Hans, I wanted to come back to a point that Jay mentioned there about the value of UX, because I know if anyone's following you, Hans, online, you've been asking a lot of leaders and a lot of different people about what the value of UX is and what it means to them, right? Where did that come about, and why are you asking this question?
Because why? Because at the end, I'm still seeing that a lot of people don't see the value of UX. They don't know what's really the value of it, of what we are doing. And this is a new way I'm trying to find out or to push that. And if you follow these interviews about in less than 5 minutes, it's really short interviews, you see that every leader from different areas tell you different values in accessibility, in safety, in a strategic way, in whatever. And if I ask 10 more people, they will tell you 10 different values. And at the end, that's awesome. We don't have only one value. It depends on the context. It depends on the user, on the tools we're working. There are always different values. At the end, we have to understand that humans are different. You are different than me. You are different than me. Every outside is different. And every tool should be different. People often ask me, what's the best navigation for software? I don't know. I don't know the context. I don't know. And it's not the left side menu. It's not the top horizontal menu. I don't know. Because if I don't know the context of what people want to do, I don't know if there is whatever is the navigation. Maybe we have to define a really new navigation for it. But this is what I think is really important to understand, that we are human are changing, and also the youth today, which grow up with internet and ChatGPT and so on, they are really different. But at the end, we are human. And we have to take the psychology, everything, how we see, how we can process data. We have to take this knowledge and bring it into the context of our products and services. And it's never the same. It's never the same. If you do always the same, we don't need us anymore, because then we can take ChatGPT to say, hey, create the next weather app and this weather app. Why do we need 10 weather apps? I don't know. Because they have to do it differently for different user groups, for different contexts with different business need, maybe for high quality, low quality, whatever. It's always different. This is why we have to also create it differently. And this is what people have to understand. The value comes out of human. We only can find this value when we design for human. And what I always tell my students, if you have an idea, I hate ideas. Ideas are the worst. It's a worst word, because an idea is not coming out from data. It's not coming out from research. Normally, when you have to do a good research, you know what you have to do afterwards. When you have an idea, it's coming from everywhere, and then it's a 50-50 chance that it works or don't work. And which CEO, which C-level decides on the 50-50 chance if it works or not work? No one. Normally no one. So we need this data from research. This is really, really important to understand.
Do you think that because I feel like we've been having this conversation for so long about the value of UX, and I feel like you walk into an organization and you're having the same conversations to justify your existence in a way, right? Like justify why we need to do research, justify why we need to make these hires or whatever. What are we doing wrong? Like how can we have a better chance of convincing the business to truly value what we do and also just stay out of our way, right? And just let us do what we need to do and make those decisions. We must be doing something wrong, right?
That's also a good question, and I think we do nothing wrong because I would say we are UX designers, we are UX guys, people. We love to design, we love to create something new. But it also means we are 100% in an operative job. We are not in a management job. If you're a designer, if you're a creator, you hate management things. You hate writing Excels to calculate whatever. And that's the problem. We want to have the responsibility to decide something, but in our deepest heart, we hate it. This is why I think it's really more important that we have to teach management or C-level who are no creators to understand why we love creating things, why we can create it better than others, because we think about the human. When they understand that they can't do it, they will give out much more money for those who can do it. And of course, we want to sit on the table, but at the end, no, we don't want. And some of us are doing that because they grew in. Maybe they are not that creators; they are much more manager. But I think that's the biggest problem, that we don't speak in their language. Of course, we are UX, and if we're really authentic, we have to think about when we have a pitch or when we want to convince our boss, we have to think, okay, what is the need of my boss? What are real the intentions of him? What are his targets? And when we think about that, when we really think about what he wants, what he needs, then we can convince him. But this is what we mostly don't do because we are much more creating something, a tool, whatever, but not also in between people. And we don't want to speak in numbers. We want to speak in visuals at the end. And I think that's a little bit a big problem where we have to say, okay, we have to find another way to convince them that they give us more, that we can do what we really want to do and make it better than others. Because a creator is never a manager.
Yeah, and I think this is the difficulty, right? It's like breeding the next set of managers is always difficult. Because like you said, Hans, there's elements and there's the speaking the language of the business, and there's lots of things that kind of go with that, right? And not everyone is ready to do that. Like you said, not everyone that is a creator wants to kind of go into that because they, people feel that they might be losing their soul a little bit, right?
Right.
So yeah, how do you feel then? In your opinion, how do we bring the next set of leaders to really influence at the top?
I think this is a challenge where I don't have any solution right now. Who are the next leaders? Of course, there will be always some people who will become the next leaders. The question is if they are leaders because they want the popularity to be a leader, or are they leaders because they are good leaders? That's the first big question. Mostly it's more about popularity. I'm convinced that, because this is what I tried 2 years ago and it didn't work that well, we created an MBA in Austria. It's called Strategic Experience Design MBA, for management people, that they understand sustainability, accessibility, design, everything around, without any tooling, without being operative creative. So that we close the gap between management and design at the end. My learning out of that, I think we had the wrong name for it. Maybe you have to call it strategic experience management. It would be better than strategic experience design. So we didn't catch them, and we had too less people who wanted to do this MBA. So the university stopped after 1 year. But I think that's the way we have to create new formats to convince the real leadership that they understand. Because when they understand top down, it will be much easier for every one of us. And we also have the budget, we get more people in, and so on and so on. And I think this is important. And I don't think that we can change it bottom up. That when designers become product managers, UX managers, global leads, at the end they're still not at the table and don't have the decision for the money. And I know a lot of them, and it's always, also for them, it's always really hard to convince their bosses to invest in UX or design.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it gets even harder, right? When, you're hearing some of the top companies out there, dropping the title UX, dropping UX from their titles, so that becomes then even harder, right, to make the case. And it becomes harder to even, uh, talk about the value of UX, right, Hans? Like, in your opinion, what do you think about this trend that we're seeing lately?
At the end, if you really ask me, I don't care if I'm a UX designer, a product manager, whatever. I know, and the same with, I don't care about Figma, Miro, and whatever. There are always coming new tools, there are always coming new titles. And 10 years ago, we were usability engineers. Now we are UX designers. Maybe in 5 years, we are CX designers or CX engineers, whatever. Or we are all wow creators. At the end, we know where we are good at. We have to convince people that it's really important. We can convince them because we can prove that when we make it in the right way, that product services are much more successful than others. We have to go this way. Doesn't matter which name, which title, or which tool we are using.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think the title, look, it's the only challenge I have with dropping the title, in my personal opinion, is just that when organizations are looking for a certain skill, you know, you're saying you want to hire great people that are going to be able to do stuff, but what are you looking for? How do you even start searching for that person? You don't like search for great person or great people, right? You know the mindset you're looking for, and the mindset of the person you're looking for is someone that has a UX background, right? I think when you kill that, you're kind of killing the identity and the background of what you're even looking for. I don't know. That's
But
just my
but
personal
Warren, we
take.
have the problem right now. Companies searching for UX UI designers, and you have the skill to develop, to research, to everything. We are no unicorns. It's not possible. Um, we have the problem right now. And also in Austria, I think around the world, everywhere the same. Companies expect something what we are not doing, and that's the challenge. Maybe it's next time they search for someone else. I don't think we have to go on this UX. It's at the end, it's user experience. I don't know a better word for it. It's the user who are doing something is experience anything. We are doing user experience or custom experience, or we don't create machine experience because machine to machines, we don't need to create an experience for them. But at the end, if we are product designers and we have the mindset to create the right experience, it's also perfect. Or if you're a product manager and you get the responsibility in companies, because a good product, if you're a good product manager, we don't need a UX manager, because a product manager has to look at UX at the end. It is his job to do it, to have a good product at the end. So we only need the tooling at the end, the operating things. So we don't need the UX manager. But it's always the question, who is doing what and who is responsible for what.
Yeah, I
But
want
this
to
is
ask about that
a really,
actually.
really long discussion.
No, I want to dig into that a little bit further because it's interesting because the setups that we have on our teams, we have product managers, right? We have UX designers. We might even have, a head of or a lead UX designer, which is meant to be the equivalent to the product manager or their counterpart. But often it's the product manager that makes the final decision on the
Yeah,
user
right.
experience. Now, I just want to open this up. Like, do we feel like that is correct? Like
No.
it should be them. And
Maybe, yeah.
if it isn't correct, then like how can we change things? Why is it that UX hasn't got that influence to make that final decision?
Maybe it is correct. At the end, it always, if you ask me, when I talk about the product manager in the company A and company B, it's always really, really different. So how much responsibility has a product manager? When you talk about product manager, in bigger companies, you have your own sales department, you have your own service department, you have your own marketing and design department. What is a product manager doing at the end? Bring everything together, find the right way. It's also what we are doing. Bring everything together, find the right way for how a product should look like. At the end, I think the most important insight we have to understand is that, and when I talk now about product manager, I talk about the business side. Business, the vision of the company, the strategy of the company, the business of the company. This is one important, really important aspect we have to think about. And the other side is the user side. And when and those together have to decide or create the product. At the end, the technology side is not important because at the end we can create everything. And if it's not possible in that way, we find another way. But right now, technology side mostly defines the product, and not user and business side. And what I always also teach my students that UX is mostly in the most heads of people around the world, outside or not in the UX area, is mostly really, really hard connected with the end user, the user or the customer. We are the UX guys. But that's not right. As a UX manager, we are responsible. Our skill is to talk to people. This is why we also talk to the user. But a business guy can't talk to the user. A technology guy also can't talk to the user because they have a different brain. I don't know why, but they have a different brain. Maybe a business guy can talk to a technology guy. Maybe, but also not all the time. So our job is to moderate technology, business, and user side to find the best solution for everyone. The easiest, the cheapest, the most, whatever, the best way for everyone. So we are not the user. we have the skills to moderate, to bring ideas on a higher level, to bring it on journeys, on maps, on whatever, and convince people that we're going the right direction. Why I'm telling you that is 3 years ago at my conference, I asked on LinkedIn, what are the next topics we should talk about? And the most important topic was sustainability. I thought, sustainability? Why the fuck? Why should I, as UX designer, talk about sustainability? I don't know anything about the sustainability. But at the end, I talked to a lot of other leaders, and at the end, it doesn't matter if we go into accessibility, sustainability, quality management, value management, our own jobs. At the end, we are here to to grab our opinions, bring it on a big picture that everyone understands, and bring our people in the right way to design the right thing, what really people need. These are our skills. We are not Figma people, we are not Miro people, we are not whatever, we are no toolers. We are people who can talk to people. We love people. And this is our value. And this is what people have to understand, that we are connectors in companies to find the right solution for the right context and for the right user. And this is what it doesn't matter if it's a software, it's a service, if we design a hotel, if we design the next spaceship, we bring together all opinions and design the right product service out of it. And this is what we are doing, nothing else.
You mentioned the point there about connectors, and we also spoke a bit about roles and responsibilities. So if we're saying that the UX manager or UX designer in the team is the connector, right, to join all the dots, do you think that we're seeing challenges because, some organizations, they might think that's the product manager's role, right, to join the dots, connect the business to, all the different parts and so on, right? Do you think we've just blurred the lines on roles and responsibilities a little bit too much, or we haven't defined them clearly for each of the roles? Because if the UX guy is supposed to be the connector, what would you say then the product manager's role should be in this equation?
At the end, maybe the product manager is the right person for it. But the question is, who will get the job as a product manager? The last 20, 30 years, mostly engineers who are becoming the product manager, who maybe have not the social connecting skills, who are more on the technology side. And this is what I see also in UX, different areas, that I don't will say that HR will doing it wrong, but maybe they don't also, maybe we as UX are the better HR people than the HR right now, because we think about what people really want, what are their skills, and what they really want to do at the end. Right now, I often have the feeling the HR take only the best fit of people they find and give someone a job he don't want to do at the end. So the question is, are the product managers right now the right fit for a product manager? So at the end, companies have to define the skills for a product manager, for UX manager, for whatever, much better than right now, and to find the right people. And I think this is also really important, because at the end there is also from ISO, the ISO standards, there's a human-centered organization. And there is this part of the human-centered organization that you really have to find out the skills of people to give them the right job. It's really important. It's not, at the end, not that easy. And often it's not, I know it's not easy to always to find the right person for the right job I really want to have, but this is what we also have to focus on. And if right now we as UX guys only to get a job, do more technology side, start to develop because we have the no-code tools, I don't know if we really be happy at the end. And I know product managers who are not happy because they are engineers and they want to develop and not manage the product. So we have to
Yeah.
rethink the world, and this is our job. Let's rethink the world as UX designers.
Yeah, I like that take, Hans. I think, yeah, rethinking how we want our role to be going forward, right? I know we circle back around because you did mention that earlier. And yeah, it is important, right? But like you said, the roles and responsibilities have to be defined, right? At a
Yeah.
company level, team level, structural level, right? Because yeah, I think that's always been a challenge, right? You know, over the
Yeah.
last few years.
And always, really often, UX designers or juniors ask me, what should I do? Because I have to do that. I have to create this icon for that. I have to design that. I have to do research there, whatever. They're really, this is why this year at our conference, we have a whole track only for human user experience, human UX, where we talk about burnout of designers. Because we do too much, because we have to do everything at the end. And I asked her, this one person, hey, what's your job description? Do you really have a clear job description? She said, no. Okay, then it's really easy that everyone can come and say, do that, do that, do that, do that. If you have a clear job description, then the next time someone is coming and say, hey, create this icon, and you are not responsible for icon design, then can you say, hey, I'm not responsible. I have to do much other workload. If you don't have an icon designer, then we have to find someone outside or find a new person who will do the icon design. But I don't have the time for it. And we also have to have this power and self-confidence to say, hey, that's my job. This is what I want to do. And not doing that, and everything else. But of course, we are socialized people. When someone asks us to do an icon, of course we do an icon. But at the end, it depends on the mass of information, mass of tasks people coming, and yeah, someone you have to say no sometimes.
Yeah. And Hans, you're quite, you've been creating this accreditation, right, for UX professionals, right? So the
Right.
International Accreditation Program for UX Professionals, which kind of, you know, accredits people for being, well, maybe you can tell us a bit about it, Hans, right? Why did you kind of work on this, and why do you think it's needed in the industry?
So at the end, these are all what I'm doing are all this is what I don't want, but these are insane ideas. I'm really convinced that it makes sense. So I go forward and I start creating them. Also, if no one else wants them, but this is what we try to find out. The problem right now, UX is a really huge market and it grows or increased the last 10 years really, really, really fast. So right now, I also know a lot of people who are coming from every area into UX, from biology, from graphic, from engineering, from architecture, from arts, wherever. And everyone is after one boot camp, after 3 days, they are UX professionals. The first big problem is that we in our profession, when we talk to each other, we don't talk about the same thing because 90% don't know the ISO standards which we have, which we all are defined. They don't know them or the process, everything around. The first thing. So if we talk about different things, when we talk the UX in e-commerce and UX in B2B, we talk about everything about different things. When we in our profession don't have the same language, how should people outside of our profession, from IT, from business, from wherever, can understand us? Because everyone is talking something different. That's the first problem we have, that we are not seen as a really big profession because we have no standards. We have them, but no one knows them. That's the first thing. The second, okay, now everyone is a UX profession, and this is what we wanted to work against, that people outside see, okay, this is really a profession. He has an experience. and he knows the standards, and when he is working on the project, he's doing the right thing. This is why we created the accreditation, which is no multiple choice test, where you have to hand in 3 projects, where you have to one-to-one interview, where we have a one-to-one interview with you to see if you really understand what UX is at the end. Then you can get your accreditation number, and then we want to build up this standardized system to say, okay, everyone who has the accreditation knows what he's doing, because most of us don't know it. And this is how we started to become a real profession in the world of every other profession. We will be seen, and that other people say, hey, okay, this is really a profession and we need UX designers because they do good projects. Why this is so important? I had 2 or 3 years ago, I had a project, or I started a project for a huge company. And they told me at the beginning, now you are the 3rd agency for UX. The first 2 did bullshit. We didn't needed what they did. They did no good work. If you don't do good work right now, we don't trust in UX anymore in the future. So this is what happens. Every IT, and I saw offers from IT companies which offered UX, who have no one in their company who is doing UX, but they offered UX because, hey, everyone can do UX. It's so easy. I do the software, the screen, the developers make the screen, and it's UX. It's good. And that's the problem which we have right now. So we need something like a real profession, real standards, to make us more professional. This is why we created the accreditation.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think it's a great initiative. And when we've spoken to guests in the past, I think a lot of them have mentioned a similar thing, that we need some level of consistency when we talk
Yeah,
about user experience, because in other professions, everything's really clear, right? You talk about doctor, you talk about like
yeah.
anything else, right? Everyone knows exactly what the role is and what it does. But for some reason, as Jay was saying before, we're 10, 20 years in now, people still are still questioning certain things. So
But
I get yeah.
we have all the standards. We have everything. We only have to communicate it in our community, in our profession.
But I think what's different about us, right, is if you take an accountant or you take a doctor, whatever, like an architect, like they have to go through these institutions and get these accreditations. Almost, I think in most cases, like by law. But it's a thing, right? Like an employer will not employ you if you do not have that. So
Yeah,
a lot of my friends that studied accountancy, for instance, they had to do so many exams after university before they could actually land their jobs and before they could even get a promotion, right, to a senior or to a lead or a
right.
head of function. They had to take even more exams. Um, we don't have that, so
We don't have that
it's
right
kind
now.
of.
That's
So I
right. Yeah.
think that's what makes it. I think that's what makes it difficult, especially when we do this comparison with other industries. Um, I can see us getting there at some point. I'm just not sure what that path looks like. But I think it is a net good thing because I think it will create that standardization that we need and consistency. And I think that will probably help our case in organizations in terms of the trust. But I'm
We
not sure what
only
that path looks like at the moment.
we only created an organization which is checking these standards we have for the last 20 years. Um, and also, I don't know how it is globally, but in for medical products, we have in the EU we have the ISO standard 62366, where medical products have to go through an human-centered design process. If you can't prove that you did it, you will not be approved as a medical product. So in the medical area, you have to do it in Europe. So it's really, really important. because at the end it's safety critical. If we can convince organizations, governments to include these standards for much more products, that would be this level where we say, okay, we have to know about that. We have to know what we're doing. We have to prove what we're doing. What I always say to my clients, when I'm working on some projects, I say, everything what I'm doing, I can prove every line. And if I can't prove a line, then it's art. I think this is what we have to do much more, that we prove why we're doing it. If someone, why is this button yellow and not green? Or why is this button on the left side, not on the right side? We have to prove them why we do that, not because why we think it's good.
100%. I think it would end up coming down onto the hiring managers to. Do you know what I think it is? I think we need some sort of. I know you've got an accreditation, and maybe this is going to be the answer, but one of these accreditations needs to kind of rise up and like be the go-to place that every UX professional just goes through, right? It's like a rite of passage, so that every employer, or at least at a hiring manager level, respects it enough that when they see that on the CV, that this person is going to be great. You know, they're going to know what they're doing. At the moment, we just have all of these BS like challenges that we set people, you know, to say, hey, like, prove to us that you can do this. You know, here's a challenge that doesn't mean anything. You know, you've got zero context, you've got zero data, you've got zero customers. But this is somehow going to prove that you know what you're doing, you know. And I think because we're all using this model, I think this is probably why we have such disparity in terms of skill set, I suppose, and how good people actually are in the industry. So I would love to see, you know, something like what you're doing actually rise up and be that go-to. I think that would be amazing.
We all hope also that it will work at the end. Right now, it's still all a side job where we get no money for it. We only want to try to make it more professional. But at the end, it's about publication, promotion, marketing, whatever. If enough people hear about it and they will use it or see a value in there, as more people will come, as more popular it will be, and as more high quality it has at the end, because everyone will know it. That's the point. And that's not that easy as we thought.
Yeah, it will take some time, and I feel like you'd need some really influential people in the industry to really help push it, you know, because it's one of those things where it needs to gain a lot of traction from a lot of people, and then it's almost like people want to wear it as a badge of honor, right? Hey, I did that. I got that accreditation, right? You know, I'm 100% accredited. And as you guys were saying, right, you almost want hiring managers, companies, everyone to kind of be following the same thing. But yeah, it would take a lot of time, and it's just when, you know.
We need an investment, a push at the beginning.
Yeah,
Whatever.
absolutely. And Hans, you know, you also, you know, we do a lot of things. Like I said, you do a lot of different things in the industry, but the World of UX tour, I was very close to going to one in the past. I just didn't get a chance to. I had some, you know, a lot going on at work, and I didn't get a chance to go. But the World of UX tour, it's one of the biggest events, right? I think that we see for user experience.
You mean the World Usability Congress?
Yes.
The World UX Tour, because you also mentioned it, was an idea at a conference 2017, and then we made 6 conferences in 2 weeks around the world. So we started in Beijing, flew to Beijing, Tokyo, Singapore, Bangalore, Dubai, and then Graz. So 6 conferences in 2 weeks. This was the world tour, which we did, which was a financial disaster, but it was much fun. And we learned a lot out of it. But the World Usability Congress is, at the end, it's one of a really, I hope so, well-known conference. in Europe. People from around the world are coming every year. And also started really, really small. I started with 30 people. And every year become bigger and bigger. I invested all the income into creating new experiences. But at the end, I always tell when they ask me, for me, it's my personal playground to show that creating experiences works. When you make it in the right way, when you create experiences, then people would love to come again. And this is my live demo, that this is what I'm doing has a value.
Amazing. Because I think, I've seen that you've got the next one's in October, right? I think the
Right.
14th to
Yeah.
16th of October in Austria. Yeah, you have so many speakers, right? I think sometimes you have 70 plus speakers speaking
Yeah.
there
Right.
and
Yeah.
across different areas, right? Which is just incredible. What can people expect when they go there, Hans, like if they were to join one of these events?
Much fun. Of course, much high quality talks, of course. This is really, really important. This is why I also created my own talk rating, that people rate every talk in their emotion only 10 minutes before to 50 minutes after the talk. And at the end, I have a speakers award for the best speakers. And when people know that they will be rated, they put much more effort into their talks. And this increases the whole quality of the conference. So at the end, this is really important for me. And at the second side, the whole networking is also really important. So a really easygoing conference, no stress. Everyone talks to everyone. It's really everyone is open-minded. I would say no bad people. Sometimes you have always bad people, but at my conference there are no bad people. There are only great, open-minded people. I want to create conferences where you love to go to, because I also go to other conferences and I really often say, will I go a second time? This is not I want to create, but this is in my this is in my blood too. This is why I'm writing the book. This is why, like I'm writing the book with Joe Lancicero. He's from was 30 years VP of Disney Imagineering, and he tells me all the time. Disney itself said, treat every customer like a guest who is coming to your own home. And if you do that, you create great experiences. Because then you always have the appreciation for everyone, every single person. And this is really important. And not creating a conference to make money, to create a conference to create experiences, to teach people, to make a better world at the end.
Yeah.
That's
It's like
it.
creating those wow moments, right?
Right. It's really easy.
You circled back.
Yeah, and because it's so much fun, I do it every year.
Incredible. I need to go to one of these for sure. I'm gonna can put it in my calendar. Definitely. It sounds amazing. I love the rating side of things as well. In terms of kind of elevating the quality. I've never heard about that before, but I think that's pretty cool. I think more events and conferences should adopt that model, because I'm like you. Like I've been to so many, and I've just walked away not really gaining much out of it, or thinking, that wasn't as good as I expected. But I think something like that could actually help raise the bar.
I created this platform, Ratify, where everyone can use this for their own conferences, also for their own. If you create a workshop, you can use it for your own workshop for free, everything for free. So there is a possibility. So if you're a conference organizer, use Ratify. You can use it for free to push your quality of your conference, to push your own quality of your workshops, whatever. This is also one side product which happens because I really wanted to do it. I try to promote it more, and I ask a lot of conference organizers to use this tool. And most of them said no, they don't want that their speakers are be rated, because then they see that their speakers are maybe bad speakers, and they won't tell their speakers that they are bad and that it's published. And so there are a lot of different thoughts about that. But at the end, I say, hey, if you want to have a high quality conference, you have to also rate, and every speaker should know if he's good or not to improve his
I agree.
text.
I agree with that. I think it's actually beneficial to the speakers. I think I would definitely benefit from getting a rating, and like if it isn't as good as I thought it might have been, then I'd probably invest more for the next one, right?
Yeah, right.
To kind of make sure I do kind of get a higher rating or deliver kind of more value kind of later. So you mentioned like the conference, like I know you mentioned the book. Like anyone who looks on your LinkedIn can see that you're probably the busiest guy in the industry. I'm
I'm
just
so
I'm
bored
just
right
kind of
now.
I'm just kind of curious, like what's next? What's next for you? Is there anything kind of exciting coming along that we should know about?
What's next? It's not public, but of course, what's next is the book. And in the book, there's also a story, and next will be, the story will be created to the next Hollywood blockbuster. That's my deepest idea. I don't know if it will happen, but that would be awesome. Next year in 2026, I start more cooperating with the medical university, technical university, to bring all knowledge in a human-centered approach together to create a much bigger, let's call it festival or event, to create a hotspot for human-centered approach around the world. This is what will be my next personal project. Let's see if it works. I think it makes sense in a world of efficiency and fastness, to go a little bit back, and everything. As I mentioned, there are so many ideas which increases or happens at the conference. Last year it was the book which we published this year. 2 years ago we had the idea of the accreditation. 4 or 5 years ago we had the idea of the UX certification, which is a foundation level certification that we say, hey, we speak the same language. So it's a global certification. 2007 it was the global world tour. So I don't know which insane ideas we have this year. Maybe there comes out a new idea, and I don't know what's coming next. But this is the two things I really work on right now: this bigger human-centered approach event and the book right now on for extraordinary experiences.
Nice. Looking forward to it. And so we'll watch this space and we'll look out for that. We'll also leave obviously links to all the things we've spoken about today, links to the events coming up as well, and also to your page as well, Hans. But it's been really great having you on the show. We touched on some really cool topics.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been excellent.
If anyone outside there, I don't know who's looking at, has a question or whatever, please connect with me on LinkedIn or wherever. I'm really open to answer, or take a meeting with me. I'm really open to talk about every question.
Amazing. You took the words out of my mouth. I was literally going to ask that question. So thanks, Hans, for that. And thanks for being on the show. You've been a brilliant guest. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Hans.